Welcome to Wargamer Shut Up and Jam. I'm Steve, the producer.
I'm Logan, the noob.
I am Mike, the memory, and I'm cheating by looking at the sheet of what exactly I'm supposed to be talking about.
Go on to your ruse.
Yeah, well, yeah. I'm not the sneaky memory.
Who's the sneaky memory?
I don't know.
All right.
I don't think anyone is.
Anyway, here we're going to be discussing the Steamroller 2015 rule set, as well as the different scenarios. We're going to kind of break it down into a few different videos here. So we're learning it as well. But I think it's an interesting discussion topic because we're moving it, as we're in 2015 now. These rules have just been out for a couple of weeks now. I don't think they've been out for that long. I know that they were like mid-January release. And it's new territory for a lot of people. Now, some of the stuff in these rule sets are going to be similar to 2014. Of course. But being that I didn't play any scenarios in 2014, this is a pretty good refresher for me.
For you, yeah.
So why don't you lead us in?
So first, I'd like us to talk about some of the general terminology used in scenario play.
Okay.
And there's a document on Privateer Press's website that you can get all of this information in.
Link in the description.
Yeah, what he said. And I would recommend that anyone interested in playing in Steamroller tournaments or even environments where Steamroller is the typical format of play to just get yourself accustomed with these. But we'll give you a little bit of a breakdown right now. So there's a few things that you need to know first and foremost. Scenario play is done. Scenarios are played with flags, objectives, and zones.
Okay.
Those are the three actual objective points of the game. Steamroller 2015 uses 40mm bases for flags, and flags are treated as models that are both incorporeal and what was the other rule? Yeah, so they're incorporeal and they don't block line of sight. They don't interfere with anything, although you still can't stop on them.
Okay, so I mean that way you can kind of model it as like an actual flag, and you don't have to worry about somebody having to be able to step
absolutely. Flags are not passable terrain. They're not terrain that you can step on.
Okay.
You can still walk through them just totally fine. Typically, flags will require you to be closer, sometimes in base contact, to control them.
Okay.
Other than that, not much else to be said about flags for now. Objectives are 50mm base, and in Steamroller 2015, there's actually 6 different objectives that you choose as the player when you write your list.
Now, this was a big change from 2014, if I recall correctly. So I like this system better. Yeah. Because you get to tailor your army around at least a portion of what you're attempting to accomplish.
Exactly.
Do you get told what the objectives are before you pick your list, or after?
I don't believe you know which scenarios you're playing before you pick your list.
Okay. The objectives you pick with your list.
Yes. The objective model itself you pick when you make your list.
Oh, okay.
And they'll have there's a universal, like they all have the same armor and health. So it's not any harder for your opponent to destroy them if the objective of the scenario is to destroy your enemy objective, for example. But they'll have different passive benefits to your models standing near them.
Okay.
So, for example, one of them might make your models immune to being knocked down while you're in base-to-base or within a short distance of it.
That's pretty sick.
Another one gives a bonus to friendly ranged attack damage rolls as long as the model making them has light artillery roll.
Oh, wow.
So that one,
I mean, it's specific. I mean, if you take an army around that one.
Well, you take
an army.
You take that objective based on your army.
Yeah.
It's very cool. Both Steamroller and Masters have added this year, and I think it's really interesting.
Yeah, I like that.
Yeah. And so objectives, there are various ways to interact with objectives. Primarily, you can attack them. You wouldn't want to do that to your own objective, but your enemy may very well want to destroy yours. Okay. Sometimes you get points just for being near your objective.
No, you place the objective at the start of the game. It's based on the scenario, though.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah. Each scenario will tell you if you need to use your objective and where it goes. Okay. The other thing that you need to know of is zones. Now, zones are a 12-inch diameter circle. The Steamroller 2015 uses two different types of zones. A 12-inch diameter circle and a 6-inch by 12-inch rectangle. Okay. Each player will typically need a 6-inch, like one of the square zones at least, and I believe some scenarios use 2 of the circular zones as well. Okay. And they'll be proprietary to each player. So your zone is the one that you brought. And,
well, let me just interrupt you here for a second. Just keep in mind, actually, for some of our video series on terrain, we will actually be going over how to make flags, objectives, these zones, and whatnot. So those will be up soon. Just wanted to throw that in there. Plug our channel a little bit.
Yeah, absolutely. So zones are the other actual objective, like the point of fighting, so to speak. Now, there's 3 different terms that you need to know when relating to zones. And these are control, contest, and dominate. I'm not going to go into the full specifics right now of what each of these means. In general, contest is when you, as an enemy, are stopping your opponent from scoring points by having your models close to their desired zone objective or whatever. Controlling is when you have your models near a flag objective or zone, or in a zone, and you're scoring points off of them. Specifically non-Warcaster, non-Warlock models.
Okay.
And dominating is when your Warlock or Warcaster is the one scoring the points.
Okay.
Dominating is typically done through different ways, scenario to scenario, as controlling is. Okay. So, for example, in a lot of scenarios, you can dominate your own objective, but you can't control it, because it's too easy to just have some models near your own objective. But if you have to have your Warcaster near your objective to score points on that, it creates a tactical challenge, brings your fulcrum, your center point of your army, into what might be firing range. So you have to sort of consider. The last thing to just sort of keep in mind as a general rule for Steamroller and for organized play is the kill box rule. Now, kill box used to be much more unforgiving. In times past, if you were in the kill box, your Warcaster died and you lost the game. Now your opponent just scores some control points.
Okay.
Kill box means that at the start of the specified time, I believe it's like the second player's second turn or something. Again, you can find the specifics on that document. If your Warlock is...
No, sorry, I'm reading right here. It's the first player's second turn.
Sure, that's fine. If your Warlock or Warcaster is too close to any table edge, your opponent will start scoring points. At the end of the end of the turn?
End of the first player's second turn.
Yeah, so at the end of the first player's second turn.
That's interesting, because that means the second player only gets 1 turn worth of movement to get up towards it.
No, he doesn't. You only give up kill points on your own turn, or kill box points on your own turn.
Oh, okay. So everybody has 2.
Yeah. It only happens on your own turn, and this rule is similar to that dominating objective clause, intended to make sure that the games progress towards an end state.
Yeah.
Where you're either giving your opponent control points or you're putting your war noun in danger, your Warcaster, your Warlock in potential danger.
I really like that. I really like the idea of the kill box again, because I like to play more aggressive factions.
Yeah, absolutely.
Although every faction's aggressive to a certain extent.
Yeah, this game is aggressive.
Yeah. But because I like that conflict, I like that battle happening, making sure that your opponent has to move towards it or they just lose is fantastic for me.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think that's great.
Not every scenario uses kill box, but many of them do. And it's just an additional factor.
For sure. And I mean, you have a really good, and for the ones that don't, for the ones that use like the zones, you have a good incentive to go towards it anyway, because,
absolutely.
I mean, a 12-inch circle is huge. I mean, it's a big portion of the battlefield. So.
No. You have to do there. So
yeah. And of course, you still have the out where you can still assassinate.
Of course, that is the universal victory condition, and it is important to be in the game because it gives the kill box meaning, it gives the domination objective meaning.
Yeah. Because
it means that you can't always just hide your Achilles heel, which is also your strongest piece.
Yeah. Now I wonder, I guess most kill box missions, I wonder how many of them actually end where people count up victory points, or how many of them end with somebody's dead Warcaster.
I would assume that most games in general, even played on scenarios, still end up with Warcaster kills.
Fair enough.
At least to like a reasonably medium level of play. High level play, you see a lot less caster kills. Like a lot less caster kills, because as you get better at the game.
Well, and they tend to take a lot longer.
Sometimes.
I mean, they have the death clock.
Right. Time, but in Steamroller they use time turns.
Oh, okay.
As a general rule, although you can supersede that with a death clock or whatever you want.
Okay. I think I like the death clock better, just because it's less to manage. Like, if you have to take a little bit longer on one turn and less time on another.
Well, there's turn extensions in Steamroller, but what Steve is referring to by the death clock is it's basically a chess clock where each player has a certain amount of time to finish the game. So the game I most recently watched with this had 60 minutes per player, and you'd be on the clock whenever you were doing something, and whenever you finished, you just switch it over to your opponent. And the games that I watched didn't go to time. One of them, the winning player took like 20 minutes on his last turn because he just wanted to make sure he could kill his opponent.
Well, exactly. But there's a lot of different factors. You've got a lot of different variables that you need to keep into consideration before making that attempt, especially in a tournament anyway. Like if you're dicking around with friends, doesn't really matter because, if I win, I win. It's not like I've got a trophy or money.
Yeah. I mean, as a caveat, if we're practicing for a tournament, you do that.
Yeah, fair.
As a further caveat, we're bad and we're not going to do that.
Yeah, well, with our battle reports, we're not going to be doing timed battle reports because ultimately they're there for your amusement, and filming will make it too difficult to manage time. It's just we can't be rushing through filming for the purposes of doing that. So we're not going to be doing time turns. We're not going to be doing death clock. In some of our own games, we might. Because eventually I wouldn't mind going to a tournament or two and just checking out the scene and playing.
Right, absolutely. And it's an extra challenge too. Like once you have become more familiar with the game, having to take your actions quickly and not dick around for 10 minutes.
Exactly. And then having to really plan out what you're doing.
Yeah, absolutely.
Quickly is nice.
It makes the game better for both players in certain regards because you're waiting less time for your opponent. I've played many games where my opponent takes like 50 minutes for their turn because they're dumb and they take forever. Not you.
I take a long time sometimes.
What I'd recommend for if you're interested in tournament play, try and start getting used to time turns or death block or both.
At the very least, start timing your turns so you know how long you're taking.
That's a good point.
Even if you're not pressured, even if you're not saying, "Oh well, I have to finish my turn in 10 minutes, or I don't get to move any more models." Be conscious of the amount of time you're taking, and this is something that just improves with practice.
Well, that's true, and it also makes you think on your opponent's turn as well.
Of course.
A little bit more.
You sort of have to have at least an idea of what you're of what you're going to do the next turn, and just by adapting to your opponent's every move.
Oh, for sure.
Because every single unit move, of course, every single unit your opponent moves somewhere is going to change your plan in some way.
Well, and plus the benefit of not having a 4-hour-long game means you get to have maybe 2 or 3 games in that time period, assuming depending on how quickly you are.
And who cares ultimately if you lose a game because you made mistakes? You learn from those mistakes and you play another game.
Exactly. Nobody. I don't know anybody who's really learned a lot from a game just totally dominating and crushing the other guy.
Well, you don't, because it's just your strategy worked. Done. You learn nothing.
Oh, exactly.